Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Kerr, back here with Alex Meyer. We'll now be discussing our predictions for SAG nominations, which we'll be starting on the film side. And so now to start things off, we'll be starting with Best Film Ensemble. And of course, then before we officially dive into that, we should keep in mind that whatever should be interesting what the nominees will be for ensemble, because if they're also nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, they'll be in the conversation, because no film since Braveheart has won Best Picture without a SAG Ensemble nomination, which is especially evidenced within the last 2 years when the films most people were predicting to win Best Picture at the Oscars were Revenant and La La Land. Both were not nominated for ensemble at SAG, so we should definitely keep an eye out on what film gets a SAG Ensemble nomination here.
Mm-hmm. All right, so, and now we should mention that the winners of SAG Ensemble don't always indicate what wins Best Picture.
Right, that only predicts it half the time. Like last year, Hidden Figures won SAG Ensemble, while Best Picture at the Oscars went to Moonlight.
Famously, when back in 2013 or 14, depending on if you want to judge it by when the award show took place, but I always mention it based on the film year.
American Hustle
back
won.
Then you had American Hustle won the SAG Award for Ensemble, but 12 Years a Slave rightfully took home Best Picture at the Oscars.
Well, yes. Well, I mean, if your film is not nominated for Ensemble at SAG, then it's out of the running to win Best Picture at the Oscars, is what I meant.
Right. But hopefully my bold prediction will be nominated here and get a Best Picture nomination, because I do feel it's a truly ensemble film, but I'm not necessarily going to predict my bold prediction to win. All right. So to get started, for my predictions for Best Ensemble, I have The Post at number 1, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri at number 2, Mudbound at number 3, The Shape of Water at number 4, and Dunkirk at number 5.
Ooh. Yeah, that's quite an interesting lineup. I mean, I don't have Dunkirk getting in, even though I do think it is possible given the ensemble nature of that film, though I do wonder if the fact that a film is seen more as a technical achievement than a character piece, could hurt it, because, like I said, ensemble piece, so it's possible, but again, it's not a character-driven film.
Not in the traditional sense, no, but I will argue for its inclusion here because Christopher Nolan has said he didn't want this film to be just about one person. He said this is about the event itself and about everyone going through it. And we see that from a wide variety of angles. We see like the soldiers played by like Finn Whitehead and Harry Styles and a bunch of other people as they're, trying to get on the ships awaiting rescue. And then there's the pilot played by Tom Hardy. There's the commander played by Kenneth Branagh. Then there's the civilians played by Mark Rylance and Barry Cogan, who was also in The Killing of a Sacred Deer, in which, let's just say he's the complete opposite of his character in Dunkirk. I mean, oh my God. But because in Dunkirk, he's a kind of a mild-mannered, slightly scared, timid kind of guy, whereas in Killing of a Sacred Deer, he's this like creepy ass stalker.
Yes.
But then you also have Cillian Murphy as a rescued soldier suffering from PTSD, and I mean, there's a lot of there's quite some high profile people in this movie, and I don't think that'll be lost on some members of the SAG nominating committee.
Well,
so no.
Well, I know.
I'm
not saying it's completely out of the question. I think it's definitely possible. I'm just saying it could be vulnerable.
Right, but I think, the ensemble nature of Dunkirk is, I think, what really helped it stand out from quite a lot of other World War II movies, which mainly focus on just one character and then everyone else is a supporting character around him. Whereas here, well, I guess you could say Finn Whitehead's character is kind of the lead, since he's the first character we see in the movie, and the movie ends with him. It's not like where he's clearly the lead and everyone's clearly supporting him. It's because everyone kind of gets their own story arc, since they have the three arcs, the land, the sea, and the air arcs all coming together and like at the very end. So, but yeah, I was kind of going back and forth between putting Dunkirk or Call Me by Your Name in the fifth spot, but I ultimately put in Dunkirk because even though Call Me by Your Name has quite a lot of notable actors in it, just based on the trailer, it seems to be mostly the Timothy Chalamet and Armie Hammer show.
Well, yeah, but let's not forget they nominated Beasts of No Nation in this category 2 years ago, despite the fact the ensemble consists of 3 people.
Right, which was kind of bizarre, but at least that proved that the SAG Awards committee will consider a Netflix film for the categories, and that's partly why I have Mudbound in here, because Mudbound is being distributed by Netflix, and but unlike Beasts of No Nation, there's a whole huge cast of people in there. You got Jason Clarke, Garrett Hedlund, Jason Mitchell, Mary J. Blige, Jonathan Banks, Rob Morgan. Quite a lot of notable actors in this film.
Well, yeah, that's why I have Mudbound predicted to get in. Oh, and I do agree. I definitely have The Post and Three Billboards getting in as well. And I do have Call Me by Your Name getting in. And I guess we should also keep an eye out on Lady Bird as a possible nominee. That kind of has an all-star cast with Saoirse Ronan, Laurie Metcalf, Tracy Letts, Beanie Feldstein, Steve McKinley Henderson, Timothy Chalamet, and Lucas Hedges. In fact, it wouldn't be something to see, I guess several cast members get multiple SAG nominations for film ensemble.
Yeah, yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, yeah, Lady Bird, I was definitely considering, and Get Out could possibly get in as well. But I guess I put in Dunkirk because there's always at least one nominee in this category every year that makes people like scratch their heads and go, really?
Yeah,
Or
like
just
Captain
like, whoa,
Fantastic
didn't
last
see
year.
that. Right, or whoa, didn't see that coming at all. So that's partly why Dunkirk is in here for me. I feel that, there's been kind of a lot of consensus among awards watchers that Christopher Nolan his films are long overdue for major awards recognition. I mean, yeah, you had The Dark Knight and Inception as major Oscar contenders, but like a lot of people would argue he's due to be front and center, or at least his film is.
He's overdue for a Best Director nomination as well.
Oh man, if he somehow gets snubbed for that, I can only imagine just the furious reactions. I mean, we'll probably see way more anger than we saw when Ben Affleck was snubbed for Argo.
Oh yeah, yes. So I now
Plus we know, but I think he has a good chance to be nominated because again, the overdue factor and the fact that Branch loves nominating films that are always, seen as the technical achievement, like Gravity or The Revenant, and the fact that Nolan used a lot of real planes and ships, and he even sunk an IMAX camera while trying to film a certain scene. And there's only like 4 or 5 of these cameras in the whole world. that might certainly help him be nominated there.
yeah. So now on to best film actress.
Okay, so this is where we kind of have to wonder how are the Globe categories of drama and comedy going to come together. But my strong hunch is that this lineup here will probably be the exact lineup we'll see at the Oscars. And for that is I have Frances McDormand for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri in first place, Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water in second, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird in third, Post in fourth, and Margot Robbie for I, Tonya in fifth.
Okay, I have the same first four as you, and I definitely think Margot Robbie's a possibility for the fifth slot. Though as of now, I currently have Judi Dench taking the fifth slot for Victoria and Abdul, given long time working actress, veteran actress. But yeah, like I said, I definitely think Margot Robbie's possibility for the fifth slot.
We could possibly see maybe Jessica Chastain get nominated for Molly's Game.
True. Yeah, she's another possibility.
But I think Margot Robbie might have the chance here because I think, she's kind of, The Wolf of Wall Street was like her big debut to the world. It's like, and I know there were some people who felt she should have gotten awards recognition for that. But even if she had, nothing would have stopped Lupita Nyong'o from winning the SAG and the Oscar, or I don't think she would have made really a dent in the whole Lupita Nyong'o versus Jennifer Lawrence race that year.
Yeah.
But Wall Street, that was her debut to the world, and there was, the big question of what will she do next, and she has proven herself to be, I think, quite a good actress. Even though Suicide Squad got largely negative reviews, quite a lot of people, including critics who weren't really fond of the movie, praised her performance as Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, she was one of the more. And indeed, as I myself did not like Suicide Squad, I thought she was one of the better aspects of it. She saved me from giving the movie a complete 0. And she was really good in Goodbye Christopher Robin earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Role, but I've heard nothing but positive things about this, and from the trailer, I'm like, it seems like she really goes all out for this, and I think, she's kind of, she's one of those actresses who's kind of like steadily proven herself, and now is like her big chance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Whereas Victoria and Abdul, it's good. I gave it like a 7 out of 10, but then she certainly has some great scenes that you could argue are awards worthy, but it's not like nominating her is an absolute priority because there are other performances that I think are a little more deserving of the spotlight than that one.
Well, I haven't seen Victoria and Abdul, so I can't really judge the performance. But every year there's well, in some categories, not all, but some, there's always got to be at least one major difference between SAG and the Oscars lineup.
Right, but usually when it comes to but usually the SAG Awards and the Oscars almost always line up pretty well. Like it's always like 17 or 18 out of the 20 nominees are usually the same. My differences are actually more in the supporting categories than the lead. Well, I mean, there is one contender I have in the actor category who, we're not quite sure has a chance at the Oscars, but I think maybe he could, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and in fact, why we go to Best Film Actor right now, because I have the same top 4 as I do at the Globes. I think Gary Oldman, Timothée Chalamet, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Tom Hanks are possibly the safe bets to predict for nominations here, with, I guess, the top 2 being more likely, but still, I have those same 4 I do at the Globes. Well, again, the 5th slot is kind of a little up for grabs.
All right, well, for me, I have Gary Oldman in first place for Darkest Hour, then second, Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name, third, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, fourth, Tom Hanks for The Post, and then fifth, I'm going to be bold here, and I'm going to say it'll be Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out.
Yeah.
Because I think if there's any way to test Get Out's strength, Get Out's chances in terms of acting nominations, the SAG Awards will be the place to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I currently have James Franco taking the 5th slot for the Disaster Artist. I think that the actors branch might just appreciate that not only his performance, but the fact he was also directed the movie, produced it, and I guess also his visibility factor from playing twins on The Deuce could help him too.
True, and I do. I was going back and forth between picking Franco, but I guess I picked Daniel Kaluuya because I think Get Out, it's still resonating even though it came out way back in February, and plus it provides grounds for an honest discussion about racism, and I think
yeah,
and just given the fact that we're seeing a lot of racism in the open with Donald Trump being in the White House, and that being the breeding ground for things like the Ku Klux Klan rallies over the summer and all that. I think it's helped certify Get Out as being a major film, especially for right now. And I think with voters, if they wish to if some of them do inevitably choose to insert politics into this, and we know some of them absolutely will, I think Get Out will certainly be one way to do so.
Well, yeah, and I was about to mention that I guess a thing that could also probably help Daniel Kaluuya get an Oscar nomination is that, well, this year isn't as big on diversity in film as it was last year, and of course, with the Academy expanding with more women and people of color, they probably would really like to avoid another Oscar so white.
Indeed, and yeah, and I do. That has actually been a worry I've been having of like, will we get another third year of Oscars so white? I certainly hope we don't. There certainly are contenders who can help avoid that, but I don't think we'll see as diverse of a lineup this year as last year because these films were already in production last year while last year's award nominees were competing. So but I do think, like the Golden Globes and the SAGs, those are going to be the real test of this year's nominees will possibly be, you
Uh-huh.
know, and I think because clearly Oscar voters do pay attention to the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice and the SAG Awards most of the time to try and seek out performances maybe they haven't seen yet or
Uh-huh.
performances they might have but now feel they should. So, but I think at least in the supporting categories we'll have chance for some diversity there. Um,
Yeah.
and that's partly why I think films like Mudbound will do very well here because since the SAG voter base is mostly American, they'll honor stories that have more American themes than the Globes, like Mudbound does.
Mhm.
So I think if films like Mudbound, which does have a diverse cast, if that wants to stretch its awards wings, the SAG Awards is going to be the big place for it to do so. And it certainly
Well,
got some
yes.
nominations awards. The Critics' Choice gave Mudbound nominations for Best Supporting Actress for Mary J. Blige and Best Adapted Screenplay, although not for Jason Mitchell and Best Supporting Actor.
Interesting. Yeah, so I guess now moving on to supporting actress.
Okay, so it's pretty much my same lineup as the Globes. I have Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird in first place, Allison Janney for I, Tonya in second, Mary J. Blige for Mudbound in third, Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water in fourth, and then I'm going to go once again with Tiffany Haddish for Girls Trip in fifth because given her win at the New York Film Critics Circle, which I honestly didn't think would consider a film like Girls Trip because I thought that film might be a little too lowbrow for them,
Well,
but
yeah.
apparently it's not. I don't, with like the bigger city film critics, I always, my assumption is they'll always go for the more highbrow than the lowbrow, but Tiffany Haddish, she's received a lot, based on the trailers for the film. I didn't think her character would be well liked at all because from the trailer, her character came out across as like really obnoxious and annoying. And admittedly, at times in the movie, she is, but just absolutely hilarious that I nearly fell out of my seat laughing.
Well, yeah, and that's usually not the kind of performance that get recognized by these major awards groups.
Right, and Girls Trip certainly performed, I think, way better at the box office than most people thought it would because, a lot of people thought it was going to get bad reviews and suffer in the way that a film like Rough Night did because Rough Night again is a raunchy comedy with a all female ensemble and they're just doing all this bunch of crazy antics, but Girls Trip is what Rough Night should have been.
Hmm.
Like Rough Night, unlike Rough Night, the characters aren't just sorted into stereotypes and then stay there. In Girls Trip, at least all four characters do evolve, including Tiffany Haddish's character. And so I think the box office success of Girls Trip will certainly play into her possibly being nominated because it's certainly because, and if people were doubting her performance then, the box office success and her New York Film Critics Circle win certainly might cause voters on the nominating committee who weren't thinking about her to possibly watch Girls Trip if they haven't already done so.
Well, yes, and I should also point out, she could probably pull a Melissa McCarthy and get nominated for a pure comedy.
Right, right. Well, I don't recall seeing her in the list of the comedy actresses for the Golden Globes, but But she did get nominated for the Critics' Choice Award for Best Actress in a Comedy. So,
Well, I meant how Melissa McCarthy earned an Oscar nomination for her supporting role in Bridesmaids.
oh, okay, yeah. I mean, if Melissa McCarthy could earn a nomination for playing a very raunchy character in Bridesmaids, then I don't see why Tiffany Haddish couldn't as well, because she pretty much is the Melissa McCarthy character from Bridesmaids. Even though I haven't really seen Bridesmaids, I just know that Melissa McCarthy's character in that movie is the most raunchy member of the group. And in Girls Trip, Tiffany Haddish, she's basically a 30-something woman who still acts like she's 21.
Yeah, and oh yeah, as for my rankings, I have the same top four as you, and my fifth slot. Well, yes, I agree that Tiffany Haddish is, I guess, possible. I have Melissa Leo currently taking the fifth slot for Negotiate.
She certainly would be worthy of a nomination. I just saw the film, but if she hasn't been able to break in at the Globes or the Critics' Choice, it'll be hard for her to break in here. But of course, we've seen other things happen before.
Yeah, like Sarah Silverman earned a SAG nomination almost 2 years ago.
For I Smile Back, a film which didn't really get that many great reviews, and so did Helen Mirren for Woman in Gold, and she got no other nominations for that performance.
Well, yeah, but she also had Hitchcock. Oh, no, not Hitchcock, Trumbo that year, so that probably helped her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Now on to supporting actor.
okay, so I have Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project in first place, Sam Rockwell for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri in second, Armie Hammer for Call Me by Your Name in third, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water in fourth, and Jason Mitchell for Mudbound in fifth.
Okay, I have four of the same rankings, except I have, I have Michael Stuhlbarg and Armie Hammer both getting in for Call Me by Your Name with Jason Mitchell and Mudbound, and Richard Jenkins is the only one of yours I'm not predicting.
Okay. Well, I mean, if Michael Stuhlbarg should be getting in at all these award shows, then I'll probably predict him for the Oscars. But I think Richard Jenkins certainly shouldn't be counted out, because The Shape of Water, I think, is just. I wouldn't be surprised if, like the Critics' Choice Awards, where Shape of Water got 14 nominations, I wouldn't be surprised if, just due to the acting and all the technical elements, that The Shape of Water ends up becoming the most nominated film at the Oscars, even if it doesn't win Best Picture.
Well,
And I
yeah,
think,
I'm sorry?
and just usually when you have a film that just is swept up by everything, that usually includes almost all the main actors. So I think, and given that in the trailer, Sally Hawkins recruits Richard Jenkins, who's her neighbor, to help her free this creature from a government laboratory. And in the trailer, it's Richard Hawk. It's Richard. Why did I say Richard? I was about to say Richard Hawkins. It was like, that's not a real person. Um, but anyway, in the trailer, it's Richard Jenkins who's providing the voiceover narration. So I don't know if that's going to be the same way in the film, if he serves as the film's narrator too, but he's obviously going to have a significant presence in the film, and he's been present at all the screenings and stuff that they've been having for it, alongside, Sally Hawkins and Octavia Spencer. So, and given the fact that he has been nominated before by the SAGs and by the Oscars, and that he's just known as one of the most, given that has a reputation as a hardworking character actor, I don't think we should discount him here.
Oh no, I definitely think he's possible. I mean, plus he's playing a gay character.
Oh yeah, that too. I forgot about that part. I didn't, because in the trailer they don't mention anything about his sexual orientation, but
Mm-hmm.
he's not the main character of the film. It's Sally Hawkins.
Right.
But yeah, but I just think The Shape of Water, given its win at the Venice Film Festival, and the fact that Guillermo del Toro hasn't always had the biggest awards contender films. He came close with Pan's Labyrinth, but not quite. The fact that he's now made what some critics say is his best film to date, I could see that helping him be further than Call Me by Your Name, because Guillermo del Toro has been a well-known name for a long time, and it looks like he's finally hit his mark in terms of awards contender films.
Well, yes, and I definitely, and yes, I am definitely currently do think Shape of Water will likely receive the most Oscar nominations, but of course we're not there yet. But in any case, that's it for our SAG nomination predictions on the film side. We'll be back soon with our predictions on the TV side.
Bye.